The Seven Dials Mystery by Agatha Christie. Chapter 29. Singular Behavior of George Lomax. Mr. Lomax is here, my lord. Lord Caterham started violently, for, absorbed in the intricacies of what not to do with the left wrist, he had not heard the butler approach over the soft turf. He looked at Treadwell more in sorrow than in anger. I told you at breakfast, Treadwell, that I should be particularly engaged this morning. Yes, my lord, but... Go and tell Mr. Lomax that you have made a mistake, that I am out in the village, that I am laid up with the gout, or, if all else fails, that I am dead. Mr. Lomax, my lord, has already caught sight of your lordship when driving up the drive. Lord Caterham sighed deeply. He would. Very well, Treadwell, I am coming. In a manner highly characteristic, Lord Caterham was always most genial when his feelings were in reality the reverse. He greeted George now with a heartiness quite unparalleled. My dear fellow, my dear fellow. Delighted to see you. Absolutely delighted. Sit down. Have a drink. Well, well, this is splendid. And having pushed George into a large armchair, he sat down opposite him and blinked nervously. I wanted to see you very particularly, said George. Oh, said Lord Caterham faintly, and his heart sank, whilst his mind raced actively over all the dread possibilities that might lie behind that simple phrase. Very particularly, said George with heavy emphasis. Lord Caterham's heart sank lower than ever. He felt that something was coming worse than anything he had yet thought of. Yes, he said, with a courageous attempt at nonchalance. Is Eileen at home? Lord Caterham felt reprieved, but slightly surprised. Yes, yes, he said. Bundle's here. Got that friend of hers with her, the little Wade girl. Very nice girl, very nice girl. Going to be quite a good golfer one day. Nice easy swing. He was chatting garrulously on when George interrupted with ruthlessness. I am glad Eileen is at home. Perhaps I might have an interview with her presently. Certainly, my dear fellow, certainly. Lord Caterham still felt very surprised, but was still enjoying the sensation of reprieve. If it doesn't bore you. Nothing could bore me less, said George. I think, Caterham, if I may say so, that you hardly appreciate the fact that Eileen is grown up. She is no longer a child. She is a woman, and if I may say so, a very charming and talented woman. The man who succeeds in winning her love will be extremely lucky. I repeat it, extremely lucky. Oh, I dare say, said Lord Caterham. But she's very restless, you know. Never content to be in one place for more than 2 minutes together. However, I dare say young fellows don't mind that nowadays. You mean that she is not content to stagnate. Eileen has brains, Caterham, she is ambitious. She interests herself in the questions of the day, and brings her fresh and vivid young intellect to bear upon them. Lord Caterham stared at him. It occurred to him that what was so often referred to as the strain of modern life had begun to tell upon George. Certainly his description of Bundle seemed to Lord Caterham ludicrously unlike. Are you sure you are feeling quite well? He asked anxiously. George waved the inquiry aside impatiently. Perhaps, Caterham, you begin to have some inkling of my purpose in visiting you this morning. I am not a man to undertake fresh responsibilities lightly. I have a proper sense, I hope, of what is due to the position I hold. I have given this matter my deep and earnest consideration. Marriage, especially at my age, is not to be undertaken without full consideration. Equality of birth, similarity of tastes, general suitability, and the same religious creed, all these things are necessary, and the pros and cons have to be weighed and considered. I can, I think, offer my wife a position in society that is not to be despised. Eileen will grace that position admirably. By birth and breeding she is fitted for it, and her brains and her acute political sense cannot but further my career to our mutual advantage. I am aware, Caterham, that there is some disparity in years. But I can assure you that I feel full of vigor, in my prime. The balance of years should be on the husband's side. And Eileen has serious tastes. An older man will suit her better than some young jackanapes without either experience or savoir-faire. I can assure you, my dear Caterham, that I will cherish her exquisite youth. I will cherish it. It will be appreciated. To watch the exquisite flower of her mind unfolding, what a privilege. And to think that I never realized. He shook his head deprecatingly, and Lord Caterham, finding his voice with difficulty, said blankly, "Do I understand you to mean, my dear fellow, you can't want to marry Bundle? You are surprised. I suppose to you it seems sudden. I have your permission, then, to speak to her?" "Oh, yes," said Lord Caterham. "If it's permission you want, of course you can. But you know, Lomax, I really shouldn't if I were you. Just go home and think it over like a good fellow. Count 20. All that sort of thing. Always a pity to propose and make a fool of yourself. I dare say you mean your advice kindly, Caterham, though I must confess that you put it somewhat strangely. But I have made up my mind to put my fortune to the test. I may see Eileen." "Oh, it's nothing to do with me," said Lord Caterham hastily. "Eileen settles her own affairs. If she came to me tomorrow and said she was going to marry the chauffeur, I shouldn't make any objections. It's the only way nowadays. Your children can make life damned unpleasant if you don't give in to them in every way. I say to Bundle, do as you like, but don't worry me, and really, on the whole, she is amazingly good about it." George stood up, intent upon his purpose. "Where shall I find her?" "Well, really, I don't know," said Lord Caterham vaguely. "She might be anywhere. As I told you just now, she's never in the same place for 2 minutes together. No repose. And I suppose Miss Wade will be with her. It seems to me, Caterham, that the best plan would be for you to ring the bell and ask your butler to find her, saying that I wish to speak to her for a few minutes." Lord Caterham pressed the bell obediently. "Oh, Treadwell," he said, when the bell was answered, "just find her ladyship, will you? Tell her Mr. Lomax is anxious to speak to her in the drawing-room." "Yes, my lord." Treadwell withdrew. George seized Lord Caterham's hand and wrung it warmly, much to the latter's discomfort. "1,000 thanks," he said. "I hope soon to bring you good news." He hastened from the room. "Well," said Lord Caterham. "Well." And after a long pause, "What has Bundle been up to?" The door opened again. "Mr. Eversley, my lord." As Bill hastened in, Lord Caterham caught his hand and spoke earnestly. "Hullo, Bill. You're looking for Lomax, I suppose. Look here, if you want to do a good turn, hurry into the drawing-room and tell him the cabinet have called an immediate meeting, or get him away somehow. It's really not fair to let the poor devil make an ass of himself all for some silly girl's prank." "I've not come for Cotters," said Bill. "Didn't know he was here. It's Bundle I want to see. Is she anywhere about?" "You can't see her," said Lord Caterham. "Not just now, at any rate. George is with her." "Well, what does it matter?" "I think it does rather," said Lord Caterham. "He's probably spluttering horribly at this minute, and we mustn't do anything to make it worse for him." "But what is he saying?" "Heavens knows," said Lord Caterham. "A lot of damned nonsense, anyway. Never say too much, that was always my motto. Grab the girl's hand and let events take their course." Bill stared at him. "But look here, sir, I'm in a hurry. I must talk to Bundle." "Well, I don't suppose you'll have to wait long. I must confess I'm rather glad to have you here with me. I suppose Lomax will insist on coming back and talking to me when it's all over. When what's all over? What is Lomax supposed to be doing? Hush, said Lord Caterham. He's proposing. Proposing? Proposing what? Marriage. To Bundle. Don't ask me why. I suppose he's come to what they call the dangerous age. I can't explain it any other way. Proposing to Bundle. The dirty swine. At his age. Bill's face grew crimson. He says he's in the prime of life, said Lord Caterham cautiously. Why, he's decrepit, senile. Bill positively choked. Not at all, said Lord Caterham coldly. He's 5 years younger than I am. Of all the damn cheek. Cotters and Bundle. A girl like Bundle. You oughtn't to have allowed it. I never interfere, said Lord Caterham. You ought to have told him what you thought of him. Unfortunately modern civilization rules that out, said Lord Caterham regretfully. In the Stone Age now, but, dear me, I suppose even then I shouldn't be able to do it, being a small man. Bundle. Bundle. Why, I've never dared to ask Bundle to marry me because I knew she'd only laugh. And George, a disgusting windbag, an unscrupulous, hypocritical old hot air merchant, a foul, poisonous self-advertiser. Go on, said Lord Caterham. I'm enjoying this. My God, said Bill simply and with feeling. Look here, I must be off. No, don't go. I'd much rather you stayed. Besides, you want to see Bundle. Not now. This has driven everything else out of my head. You don't know where Jimmy Thesiger is by any chance? I believe he was staying with the Coots. Is he there still? I think he went back to town yesterday. Bundle and Lorraine were over there on Saturday. If you'll only wait. But Bill shook his head energetically and rushed from the room. Lord Caterham tiptoed out into the hall, seized a hat and made a hurried exit by the side door. In the distance he observed Bill streaking down the drive in his car. That young man will have an accident, he thought. Bill, however, reached London without any mischance, and proceeded to park his car in St. James's Square. Then he sought out Jimmy Thesiger's rooms. Jimmy was at home. Hello, Bill. I say, what's the matter? You don't look your usual bright little self. I'm worried, said Bill. I was worried anyway, and then something else turned up and gave me a jolt. Oh, said Jimmy. How lucid. What's it all about? Can I do anything? Bill did not reply. He sat staring at the carpet and looking so puzzled and uncomfortable that Jimmy felt his curiosity aroused. Has anything very extraordinary occurred, William? He asked gently. Something damned odd. I can't make head or tail of it. The Seven Dials business? Yes, the Seven Dials business. I got a letter this morning. A letter? What sort of a letter? A letter from Ronnie Devereux's executors. Good Lord. After all this time. It seems he left instructions. If he was to die suddenly, a certain sealed envelope was to be sent to me exactly a fortnight after his death. And they've sent it to you? Yes. You've opened it? Yes. Well, what did it say? Bill turned a glance upon him, such a strange and uncertain one that Jimmy was startled. Look here, he said. Pull yourself together, old man. It seems to have knocked the wind out of you, whatever it is. Have a drink. He poured out a stiff whiskey and soda and brought it over to Bill, who took it obediently. His face still bore the same dazed expression. It's what's in the letter, he said. I simply can't believe it, that's all. Oh, nonsense, said Jimmy. You must get into the habit of believing 6 impossible things before breakfast. I do it regularly. Now then, let's hear all about it. Wait a minute. He went outside. Stevens? Yes, sir. Just go out and get me some cigarettes, will you? I've run out. Very good, sir. Jimmy waited till he heard the front door close. Then he came back into the sitting room. Bill was just in the act of setting down his empty glass. He looked better, more purposeful and more master of himself. Now then, said Jimmy. I've sent Stevens out so that we can't be overheard. Are you going to tell me all about it? It's so incredible. Then it's sure to be true. Come on, out with it. Bill drew a deep breath. I will. I'll tell you everything. Chapter 30. An urgent summons. Lorraine, playing with a small and delectable puppy, was somewhat surprised when Bundle rejoined her after an absence of 20 minutes, in a breathless state and with an indescribable expression on her face. Hoof, said Bundle, sinking on to a garden seat. Hoof. What's the matter? Asked Lorraine, looking at her curiously. George is the matter, George Lomax. What's he been doing? Proposing to me. It was awful. He spluttered and he stuttered, but he would go through with it. He must have learnt it out of a book, I think. There was no stopping him. Oh, how I hate men who splutter. And, unfortunately, I didn't know the reply. You must have known what you wanted to do. Naturally, I'm not going to marry an apoplectic idiot like George. What I mean is, I didn't know the correct reply from the book of etiquette. I could only just say flatly, no, I won't. What I ought to have said was something about being very sensible of the honor he had done me and so on and so on. But I got so rattled that in the end I jumped out of the window and bolted. Really, Bundle, that's not like you. Well, I never dreamt of such a thing happening. George, who I always thought hated me, and he did too. What a fatal thing it is to pretend to take an interest in a man's pet subject. You should have heard the drivel George talked about my girlish mind and the pleasure it would be to form it. My mind. If George knew 1/4 of what was going on in my mind, he'd faint with horror. Lorraine laughed. She couldn't help it. Oh, I know it's my own fault. I let myself in for this. There's Father dodging round that rhododendron. Hello, Father. Lord Caterham approached with a hangdog expression. Lomax gone, he remarked with somewhat forced geniality. A nice business you let me in for, said Bundle. George told me he had your full approval and sanction. Well, said Lord Caterham, what did you expect me to say? As a matter of fact, I didn't say that at all, or anything like it. I didn't really think so, said Bundle. I assumed that George had talked you into a corner and reduced you to such a state that you could only nod your head feebly. That's very much what happened. How did he take it? Badly? I didn't wait to see, said Bundle. I'm afraid I was rather abrupt. Oh, well, said Lord Caterham, perhaps that was the best way. Thank goodness in the future Lomax won't always be running over as he has been in the habit of doing, worrying me about things. Everything is for the best, they say. Have you seen my jigger anywhere? A mashy shot or two would steady my nerves, I think, said Bundle. I'll take you on for 6pence, Lorraine. An hour passed very peacefully. The three returned to the house in a harmonious spirit. A note lay on the hall table. Mr. Lomax left that for you, my lord, explained Treadwell. He was much disappointed to find that you had gone out. Lord Caterham tore it open. He uttered a pained ejaculation and turned upon his daughter. Treadwell had retired. Really, Bundle, you might have made yourself clear, I think. What do you mean? Well, read this. Bundle took it and read. My dear Caterham, I am sorry not to have had a word with you, I thought I made it clear that I wanted to see you again after my interview with Eileen. She, dear child, was evidently quite unaware of the feelings I entertained towards her. She was, I am afraid, much startled. I have no wish to hurry her in any way. Her girlish confusion was very charming, and I entertain an even higher regard for her, as I much appreciate her maidenly reserve. I must give her time to become accustomed to the idea. Her very confusion shows that she is not wholly indifferent to me, and I have no doubts of my ultimate success. Believe me, dear Caterham, your sincere friend, George Lomax. Well, said Bundle. Well, I'm damned. Words failed her. The man must be mad, said Lord Caterham. No one could write those things about you, Bundle, unless they were slightly touched in the head. Poor chap, poor chap. But what persistence! I don't wonder he got into the cabinet. It would serve him right if you did marry him, Bundle. The telephone rang and Bundle moved forward to answer it. In another minute George and his proposal were forgotten, and she was beckoning eagerly to Lorraine. Lord Caterham went off to his own sanctum. It's Jimmy, said Bundle. And he's tremendously excited about something. Thank goodness I've caught you, said Jimmy's voice. There's no time to be lost. Lorraine's there, too? Yes, she's here. Well, look here, I haven't got time to explain everything. In fact, I can't through the telephone. But Bill has been round to see me with the most amazing story you ever heard. If it's true, well, if it's true, it's the biggest scoop of the century. Now, look here, this is what you've got to do. Come up to town at once, both of you. Garage the car somewhere and go straight to the Seven Dials Club. Do you think that when you get there you can get rid of that footman fellow, Alfred? Rather. You leave that to me. Good. Get rid of him and watch out for me and Bill. Don't show yourselves at the windows, but when we drive up, let us in at once. See? Yes. That's all right then. Oh, Bundle, don't let on that you're going up to town. Make some other excuse. Say you're taking Lorraine home. How would that do? Splendidly. I say, Jimmy, I'm thrilled to the core. And you might as well make your will before starting. Better and better. But I wish I knew what it was all about. You will as soon as we meet. I'll tell you this much. We're going to get ready the hell of a surprise for number 7. Bundle hung up the receiver and turned to Lorraine, giving her a rapid resume of the conversation. Lorraine rushed upstairs and hurriedly packed her suitcase, and Bundle put her head round her father's door. I'm taking Lorraine home, father. Why? I had no idea she was going today. They want her back, said Bundle vaguely. Just telephoned. Bye-bye. Here, Bundle, wait a minute. When will you be home? Don't know. Expect me when you see me. With this unceremonious exit Bundle rushed upstairs, put a hat on, slipped into her fur coat and was ready to start. She had already ordered the Hispano to be brought round. The journey to London was without adventure, except such as was habitually provided by Bundle's driving. They left the car at a garage and proceeded direct to the Seven Dials Club. The door was opened to them by Alfred. Bundle pushed her way past him without ceremony and Lorraine followed. Shut the door, Alfred, said Bundle. Now, I've come here especially to do you a good turn. The police are after you. Oh, my lady. Alfred turned chalk white. I've come to warn you because you did me a good turn the other night, went on Bundle rapidly. There's a warrant out for Mr. Moskarovsky, and the best thing you can do is to clear out of here as quick as you can. If you're not found here, they won't bother about you. Here's £10 to help you get away somewhere. In 3 minutes' time an incoherent and badly scared Alfred had left 14 Hunstanton Street with only one idea in his head, never to return. Well, I've managed that all right, said Bundle with satisfaction. Was it necessary to be so, well, drastic? Lorraine demurred. It's safer, said Bundle. I don't know what Jimmy and Bill are up to, but we don't want Alfred coming back in the middle of it and wrecking everything. Hello, here they are. Well, they haven't wasted much time. Probably watching round the corner to see Alfred leave. Go down and open the door to them, Lorraine. Lorraine obeyed. Jimmy Thesiger alighted from the driving seat. You stop there for a moment, Bill, he said. Blow the horn if you think anyone's watching the place. He ran up the steps and banged the door behind him. He looked pink and elated. Hello, Bundle, there you are. Now then, we've got to get down to it. Where's the key of the room you got into last time? It was one of the downstairs keys. We'd better bring the lot up. Right you are, but be quick. Time's short. The key was easily found, the baseline door swung back and the three entered. The room was exactly as Bundle had seen it before, with the 7 chairs grouped round the table. Jimmy surveyed it for a minute or two in silence. Then his eye went to the 2 cupboards. Which is the cupboard you hid in, Bundle? This one. Jimmy went to it and flung the door open. The same collection of miscellaneous glassware covered the shelves. We shall have to shift all this stuff, he murmured. Run down and get Bill, Lorraine. There's no need for him to keep watch outside any longer. Lorraine ran off. What are you going to do? Inquired Bundle impatiently. Jimmy was down on his knees, trying to peer through the crack of the other cupboard door. Wait till Bill comes and you shall hear the whole story. This is his staff work, and a jolly creditable bit of work it is. Hello, what's Lorraine flying up the stairs for as though she'd got a mad bull after her? Lorraine was indeed racing up the stairs as fast as she could. She burst in upon them with an ashen face and terror in her eyes. Bill, Bill, oh, Bundle, Bill. What about Bill? Jimmy caught her by the shoulder. For God's sake, Lorraine, what's happened? Lorraine was still gasping. Bill, I think he's dead, he's in the car still, but he doesn't move or speak. I'm sure he's dead. Jimmy muttered an oath and sprang for the stairs, Bundle behind him, her heart pounding unevenly and an awful feeling of desolation spreading over her. Bill, dead? Oh, no. Oh, no. Not that. Please God, not that. Together she and Jimmy reached the car, Lorraine behind them. Jimmy peered under the hood. Bill was sitting as he had left him, leaning back. But his eyes were closed and Jimmy's pull at his arm brought no response. I can't understand it, muttered Jimmy. But he's not dead. Cheer up, Bundle. Look here, we've got to get him into the house. Let's pray to goodness no policeman comes along. If anybody says anything, he's our sick friend we're helping into the house. Between the 3 of them they got Bill into the house without much difficulty, and without attracting much attention, save for an unshaven gentleman, who said sympathetically, "Gentlemen's, add a couple, she," and nodded his head sapiently. Into the little back room downstairs, said Jimmy. There's a sofa there. They got him safely onto the sofa and Bundle knelt down beside him and took his limp wrist in her hand. His pulse is beating, she said. What is the matter with him? He was all right when I left him just now, said Jimmy. I wonder if someone's managed to inject some stuff into him. It would be easily done, just a prick. The man might have been asking him the time. There's only one thing for it. I must get a doctor at once. You stay here and look after him. He hurried to the door, then paused. Look here, don't be scared, either of you. But I'd better leave you my revolver. I mean, just in case. I'll be back just as soon as I possibly can. He laid the revolver down on the little table by the sofa, then hurried off. They heard the front door bang behind him. The house seemed very still now. The two girls stayed motionless by Bill. Bundle still kept her finger on his pulse. It seemed to be beating very fast and irregularly. "I wish we could do something," she whispered to Lorraine. "This is awful." Lorraine nodded. "I know. It seems ages since Jimmy went, and yet it's only a minute and a half." "I keep hearing things," said Bundle. "Footsteps and boards creaking upstairs, and yet I know it's only imagination." "I wonder why Jimmy left us the revolver," said Lorraine. "There can't really be danger." "If they could get Bill," said Bundle and stopped. Lorraine shivered. "I know, but we're in the house. Nobody can get in without our hearing them. And anyway, we've got the revolver." Bundle turned her attention back again to Bill. "I wish I knew what to do. Hot coffee. You give them that sometimes." "I've got some smelling salts in my bag," said Lorraine. "And some brandy." "Where is it?" "Oh, I must have left it in the room upstairs." "I'll get it," said Bundle. "They might do some good." She sped quickly up the stairs, across the gaming room and through the open door into the meeting place. Lorraine's bag was lying on the table. As Bundle stretched out her hand to take it, she heard a noise from behind her. Hidden behind the door, a man stood ready with a sandbag in his hand. Before Bundle could turn her head, he had struck. With a faint moan, Bundle slipped down, an unconscious heap, upon the floor.